This isn't just another MacBook Neo video. Well, it is, but you need to watch this if you're thinking about buying one of these. I've already made precisely 11,000 videos about the MacBook Neo because it brings in views, and obviously I'm a view and click hungry tech YouTuber, but more importantly, people are buying it in droves. If you're trying to buy one of these now, it's May 2026, you might be struggling. You'll have to wait for a few weeks for it to be delivered because they are just sold out everywhere. However, clearly, there's quite a lot of people out there who are still confused about whether or not this is for them. And there's a lot of misunderstandings about the limits of this machine and why those limits are fine, because other stuff exists. So I've got six things that if one of them applies to you, does that make sense? Or if several of them apply to you, this isn't for you. So before you buy this, watch this. If you've got Wi-Fi that drops out in certain rooms, or you've got a fast internet connection which doesn't seem to be very fast on certain devices, I've been there, trust me, this is what you need. It's the TPLink Deco BE68, and it's a whole home mesh Wi-Fi system. What that means in practice is that instead of one router fighting to reach every corner of your house, you place 2 or 3 of these units around your home, and they work together to form a single network. This removes the need for separate SSIDs or to manually switch between connections. Your devices always find the fastest node automatically, and the speeds are seriously impressive. You'll get up to 14 gigabits per second across 3 bands. There's a 10 gigabits per second port if you want to hardwire a PC or NAS, and the 6 gigahertz band keeps the fastest connections completely free of congestion from older devices. And the setup is so easy. If I can do it, you can do it. You just download the Deco app, connect the devices, follow the instructions, and you're done. And best of all, you can scale this system very easily. You just keep adding more of these. So for instance, if you're building out the garage or you're building an office, just get another one. To find out more, click that link in the description. Number 1, you're serious about video editing. Now, I know some people out there get fed up with YouTubers like myself talking about video editing as though it's the only thing that you can do with a Mac. I get that completely. However, a lot of people ask in the comments, how far can you go with the Neo and video editing? And for that reason, I have to answer that question. I think defining serious video editing is quite tricky. However, I do need to draw the line somewhere. And if you do 4K multicam with proper color grading and you have long timelines, you're working on 15, 20, 30 minute plus videos. If you work with motion graphics and all that fancy stuff, this isn't for you. You'll be surprised how far you can get with it, but you're going to hit that ceiling, that 8 gig of RAM, 8 gig of unified memory ceiling very quickly. You won't hit that on a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air anywhere near as quickly. So if you're serious about video editing, either now or in the future, this isn't for you. However, if you're editing 4K home movies or you're editing for TikTok and Instagram, this will do wonders. It will eat that stuff for breakfast. Number 2, you're planning on keeping your laptop for more than 5 years and you can't stop thinking about the fact that the Neo may not last that long. Let's get real here. The MacBook Neo, even the base model, which is what this one is, the 8 gig of unified, in fact they've all got the one with 256 gig of storage, even that one will last 5 years. And the reason I know this is because at home we have the M1 MacBook Air with 8 gig of unified memory, which I bought back in 2020, which is still going strong today. My girlfriend uses it every single day. It doesn't slow down. She loves it to death. It's a beautiful laptop. This will do the same thing in 5 or 6 years' time. It will still work for a lot of people. So if you're not thinking about this, then just get it. If you are thinking about this and you're worried about the 8 gig, you're worried about this thing called memory swapping, which doesn't matter, guys. I'm not aware of any mass problem with memory swap and M1 chips and all that, the 8 gig thing. It's not a big deal. But if you're worried about that in any way, shape or form, don't get the Neo. Get the Air. Get it with 16 gig of unified memory. Get the 24 gig upgrade. Do whatever you need to do to make sure that you don't have buyer's remorse in 4 or 5 years' time, or even in 3 months' time when you think, I really should have bought that Air. If you're worried about the longevity of the Neo, just get the Air. But if you're not worried about that, just get it and ignore the Reddit threads. Number 3, you run heavy concurrent workflows. And by this, I don't mean you have 20, 30 browser tabs open at once and, Outlook in the background and Microsoft Teams and PowerPoint doing something. If you do that kind of thing, it's fine. It will work perfectly. If, however, you have that stuff going and you also have Lightroom exporting a whole bunch of raw files in the background, you've got a local LLM doing some very clever AI stuff. I've noted some other stuff. In fact, no, I haven't noted anything down because I don't understand that area of usage. But if you have lots of things going on which are either hobby specific or industry specific and they feel like quite chunky apps, this will do a valiant job, but it has 8 gig of unified memory. So at some point it's going to say, hang on. I've seen that hang on message once, and although it wasn't slowing down to that point, it was getting to the stage where clearly I was pushing it too far. And in that instance, I switched to my MacBook Pro, which kind of says everything, although I appreciate that I'm not normal because I've got 3 Macs in front of me and most people just have one. But this, again, illustrates that you need to pick the right one from the start. And don't expect too much from the Neo. Number 4, you're studying, I've had to write this down, you're studying or working in code, data, or AI. And the reason I've written this one down is because it's one of the most frequently asked questions about the Neo. Can I do programming on it? Can I do AI stuff? Can I do other things that I do not understand? Yes, you can do some basic stuff. You can tinker with it. You can try out things. You can just explore stuff. But again, it's got 8 gig of unified memory and it doesn't have any kind of internal cooling. There's no fan basically. So you are going to hit some kind of performance ceiling fairly quickly if you get into that stuff. If compiling, running local models, Docker, virtual machines, if LLMs, if any of those words mean something to you, get the Air. Or if you can afford it, get a Pro. I think if you're in that area, going for a Neo might save you money to begin with, but in the long run, you'll spend more because you'll need to upgrade to something else sooner. Number 5 might surprise a few people. If you're coming from an M1 or an M2 MacBook Air, the MacBook Neo may not be the best upgrade because it may not be an upgrade. Yes, if you look at the benchmarks, the MacBook Neo is definitely better than certainly the M1 MacBook Air, but you're kind of side grading on a lot of stuff. So the memory, for instance, you may have 8 gig on your M1 MacBook Air. This still has 8 gig. You may be downgrading. If you've got an M2 MacBook Air with 16 gig of unified memory, for instance, this is going to have less. Storage might be the same, for instance. And then you've got things like the MagSafe on the M2 MacBook Air, which you don't have on this. The display on the MacBook Neo is slightly smaller than the MacBook Air as well. So it's not the obvious upgrade. Although I understand why, because it's incredibly desirable. And if you just want the Neo, then just go for it. You won't be disappointed. But I think the more obvious upgrade for the M1 and M2 MacBook Air is the M5 MacBook Air, because that is stunning. Number 6, you've got loads of peripherals and you want to drive more than one external monitor. You can't do that with the MacBook Neo because it only drives one external monitor. The latest MacBook Air drives 2. The MacBook Pro drives about 1 million, well, a lot more than that. This isn't for you if that's the case. If you've got lots of things that you plug into your laptop as well, the fact that you've got 2 ports and one of them is slower than the other, you're going to get frustrated, which is why that exists and why that exists. And this brings me to my inevitable conclusion. The MacBook Neo is the best thing that Apple has ever done, in my humble opinion. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but I think it is utterly amazing. The fact that it is so affordable, and the fact that it gets so many people into the macOS ecosystem, and the fact that it is so much better than the Windows competition. Honestly, if you are in any way suspicious about how good this thing can be, just go and pick one up. Go to an Apple store, go and get your mates, and just feel it. It's so much better. And if you're a student, if you're a manager, if you run a business, if you are a casual user, if you just want a second laptop to tinker with, oh, it's so good. But if any of the stuff that I've talked about today is you, if it relates to you, if you've immediately recognized yourself in one of those 6 things, get the Air or the Pro. And now guys, it's over to you. Get involved in the comments, I will as well. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, you know what to do.